What's up, folks, and welcome to another Indie Showcase. I don't cover early access games on this show very often, and the reason for that is that, well, while I get the spirit behind the early access concept, I just find that too many titles come out even into early access earlier than they should, and the process is too often abused for my taste. But occasionally a game comes out that I do feel is doing early access right, one that you can tell is leading to being something special even in this early release state, and this is definitely one of those. So this is Revita or Revita, I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, but it's another roguelite. I know there's a million and one of these, but even though they keep coming out, I still keep finding interesting things to take and enjoy from a lot of the new ones that are coming. There's still a lot of innovation happening in this genre, which is something that I really like. This game does share a lot of similarities with another really good roguelite that I actually haven't covered on this channel, but I played a lot of, called Neon Abyss. There's a lot of similarities here that I will point out. I do recommend going and checking that game out if you haven't. It is quite good, even though it is very, very difficult. And so this is in early access. It's currently $15 US. It's only on PC at the moment, but I'm going to assume it's probably going to come to some other things because it has the Dear Villagers publisher behind it, who's put out a lot of interesting stuff, including another roguelike called Scourgebringer, which is absolutely excellent. It's another one I haven't covered, but another really, really good one. And this is a little bit limited on content right now, but it also has a lot going for it, and it's got, it's got heart, and I think it stands to be something pretty cool. So I'm going to check this out for you. I've put a little under 2 hours into this so far, and it has been pretty interesting. So, and despite the fact that it mirrors some other roguelikes a lot and doesn't necessarily have some of the innovations that those do, I still have been enjoying it an awful lot. So this does have a story to it, which is that you're this young child who seems to be in this loop on this subway, and you're trying to climb a tower from which you are trying to sort of rebuild lost memories. That's all it really says at this point. The story doesn't really feel fully fleshed out yet, and I think that's intentional. I believe that's going to happen more as it gets further into early access. So you have a hub world here. I'll try to do a quick run and come back here and show you this, but yeah, there's this weird creature here, and there's other people that you can talk to up here from which you can learn more about your progression and buy upgrades and things like that. And more characters will unlock the further you progress. But let's get right into it here, and I'm going to show you this. So as I said, you're climbing this tower, and so you're going to get on this subway here, which takes you to the first section, and then you go through a series of arena-based levels that offer different challenges that, of course, increase the further along you go, and you'll have a certain number of power-ups and perks and other randomly generated things that will appear as you go. And it is a roguelite, so you can unlock the ability to have more power-ups in the game as you go. You're not really unlocking any permanent upgrades per se, but you are unlocking the ability to get more and better upgrades appear in the world in subsequent runs. That's something else that Neon Abyss does that I actually think is kind of interesting. So here we go. So this is just a power-up that opens a locked gate, but as you can see, the arenas are more or less single screen. So you go in it, you complete it, you move on to the next level. Each of these is very, very quick and snappy, which is kind of interesting. And there's enemies with quite a wide variety of different attacks and abilities that you're going to have to deal with. And one of the things that's interesting about this game, of course, because I'm recording, my first run is not going so well, but the majority of the currency in this world is actually your health. So you're not going to pick up gold or other resources like that, but you will get opportunities from mid-mission vendors to buy different perks and power-ups for your given run. Also the ability to unlock chests and things like that, like for example through here. But okay, this actually isn't, this just hands me a key. So sometimes there are chests there, but to unlock anything like a chest, you actually have to spend a heart. Now you can get your health back in this, unlike a lot of roguelikes that make that rather difficult. You can get your health back. And you can do that by, you're going to see right under the key symbol in the upper left there, you see that little meter right under the health bar? Well, if you press and hold the Y button, I am playing with a controller here, if you have one of those segments filled, you'll regenerate half a heart. and it takes a little bit to refill one of those. So health is definitely not something that you're going to get flowing like water in this for sure. So this is a special sort of sacrificial altar where you can actually offer up health, and the more of it you offer, the bigger a power up you'll get. I'm not going to do that here because I'm not doing so hot. You also have a multiplier there that will affect the amount of the orbs that you're picking up from enemies. So the main currency in your individual runs is your health, but these sort of soul orbs that you're picking up here, what they do is, so there you go. So slime ball can now be unlocked by the imprisoned. This is something that I can now spend some of these soul orbs on back in the hub world to unlock the ability to bring into the world here. So there's a lot of different ways that you have the ability to make those available to you so that you can bring them back here. So really kind of what this is a mix of, if you wanna see the roguelite influences that it's wearing, perhaps, is maybe Neon Abyss, and probably to a point also Dead Cells, which is possibly one of the best roguelikes ever made. And that's because you're picking up these orbs from the enemies that are your currency with which you buy upgrades, but your currency in the middle of runs is your health. So that's a bit of an interesting mechanic, and where it matches up more with Neon Abyss is this arena-based stuff. Now, I think there's going to be potentially two schools of thought on it. Neon Abyss's arenas are much bigger and often a lot more challenging. They're also a lot slower moving, though. The gunplay in Neon Abyss is certainly not easy, but it's not fast either. This is designed to be much quicker. The arenas are much smaller, designed to be much more about quick hits and sort of getting you through them faster. Really, a run of this game in general is just going to be shorter than a lot of other roguelikes. Now, in this early access version, there's only 3, I don't know what they call them, if they call them worlds or whatever, but you see there in the elevator that I'm progressing up a series of floors leading to a boss. So there's 3 of these sections in this early access release. There's going to be more by the end, as well as more power-ups, more enemy types, more characters, more things like that. So that's where it's going to grow. The core mechanical concepts of the game are mostly complete, though the developer says they are looking for feedback and will tune accordingly. But really, in the 9 months that they claim this is going to be in early access, it's mostly going to be for adding content. So you see, here's an in-mission shop. Now this is interesting. I've been offered these power-ups for no health. I've never seen that happen before. These always want at least half a heart, so that's kind of interesting. Ah, that's because, so because my health is low, one of the things I'm getting here is I can pick up the items for free, but I'm getting a curse placed on me at the same time. So that's kind of what's going on there. And I got a curse there as well, which is increased shop prices. So that's it. So there are also curses in this too. You will sometimes, typically before bosses, actually come up against a chest that will give you a power-up but gives you a curse at the same time, and you have to determine if it's worth it. In fact, here it is right here. So you can do this. There's a neat little mashing thing you have to do to open the chest. So there's the curse. Enemies might spawn a copy upon defeat. That's great. And then shoot bullets vertically while dashing. So you do have a dash mechanic as well that allows you to dodge, and as you saw in that earlier arena there, you can jump and kind of slide down walls, and you can kind of repeat that over and over to get a vertical advantage on enemies. So you really are going to want to use that more and more, because the enemies do get more, not only more difficult, but more acrobatic, if you will, in the later arenas. So here's one of the first bosses. The bosses in this are definitely very unique, both in terms of physical appearance and in terms of the strategies you have to use to beat them. The one thing I'm going to say that I hope they do, this is a big piece of feedback I'm going to give the developers for when they finish this up, is one of the things I like about the bosses in Neon Abyss is that there's a selection of them and they randomize. So the bosses that you end up having to fight in each arena, you don't have to fight them in the same order every time. And that sort of keeps you on your toes as you learn different bosses and different strategies, and you sort of have to prepare for what might come your way as opposed to knowing what's going to come your way. In this early access release, at least, the bosses are always the same. So this is the first boss. There's the second boss. I haven't gotten to the third boss yet, but it's consistent every time. Now, that may be their design intent. I honestly really hope it's not, because I think randomizing the bosses... So, again, there's two schools of thought on that. Some people might like the consistent bosses so that you can learn and practice and get really good at the order that you know the game is going to give you. I personally prefer the randomized idea. I think that makes things a little bit more interesting and prevents you from getting bored as you're... Because in roguelikes, right, the idea is that you're going to hit a wall. So there we go, got him. So it drops a couple power-ups, and off we go. Because in roguelikes and lights, this is a light, I should be calling it that, the idea is that you're growing a little bit in a permanent way each time, right? In each run. And for me, I prefer to have things mixed up rather than constantly beating my head against the same boss every time. You know, if I'm getting stuck at a certain boss because I haven't leveled up sufficiently, well, I'd like to have a little bit of variance in that. So I would personally like to see the bosses get mixed up rather than be a linear fashion. So here you have the ability to upgrade some of the relics that you've acquired during your run. So any of the relics that you have active in a current run, you can put an upgrade on through this guy here. I don't have enough health to do that, unfortunately, so we got to skip that. That happens in between every major level section. And the other thing I like about this is this game has a lot of little quality of time things, as I call them. So you saw I sort of skipped the animation of the kid coming out of the train there. Yeah, you can do that. When you go in here and you see this little in-between level screen, as long as it's not actively loading, you can skip that too. You can just sort of mash a button and just be like, yeah, get me to the fight. Like, I like, you know, I like your little transition animations and stuff, but I've seen them a million times, let's go. Like I said, speed and, like I said, quality of time seems to be something that the developers have really made a concerted design point in this. They want you to be able to get through it fast. This is a roguelike. I think that they would prefer, or not prefer, but that they have designed for people to be able to play in... Oh, there we go. Got it. That they have designed for people to be able to play in shorter runs if they need to, so that you don't have to spend... You don't have to sit down and go, okay, I'm locked into this for an hour. You know, it's nothing like that. So here you go, and as you can see, this is sort of a Dead Cells mechanic. Those souls that I picked up have converted down into the sort of upgrade currency, if you will. So here we go. We go back to the station, and now what we can do. So this is a creature that you found in the dungeon. It doesn't like you, but it's willing to work with you. So you see, these are different power-ups that you can buy, and by buying these, again, so the first time you purchase one, you get to use it in your next run, but after that, you're only buying the ability for it to appear in the world. You're not buying, you don't have to buy the same thing multiple times to ensure you get it in a run. You're just buying its existence. So, and here's sort of the main character who's sort of your guide and things on here. And in addition, he's hanging out by this tree here, and what's cool is there are a pile of conditions that you can, or challenges if you will, that sort of rebloom this tree, and by doing that you unlock another item that you can get in here. So you see I've done a few of these. So jump a total of 500 times, clear a shop completely, die and return to the station 5 times. So there's a pile of these, but you don't find out about them until you've done them, which is kind of interesting, or at least until you've partially unlocked them at least. So okay, so here's one here. Collect a total amount of 100 soul coins. So we're at 70 of 100. So this early access version of the game doesn't actually have any achievements yet, but these are kind of the equivalent of those, I think. And this is another person I met in the dungeon here who allows you to buy. Now, these are mostly upgrades for the station. They're mostly, at least at this point, they seem cosmetic. I don't know if this is just to improve the station or if these will serve a functional purpose later. It does give you a challenge room, which is kind of cool, as one of them, which I just noticed. You know what? Let's grab that and see what we've got. So there we go. So we unlock that. Now I got to find where it is, but... And as you can see here, there is art placement for other characters. I don't know if I would continue to unlock them in this early access version or if they're coming later. There is going to be a lot more of them, though, I think later on. I don't actually know where that challenge room is that she made for me, but, you know, whatever. That's fine. It's cool. I don't mind, you know, we'll find it later, I guess. So, and this is the idea. And then, of course, you go back down to the station here, and you get off on your run. Again, you saw I mashed the button there, jumped right back into it. I do like that. I do like the fact that it doesn't make you sit through, you know, a long sequence of animation or other things like that every single time you have to go back to something. It feels like a game that does respect your time a little bit. And a lot of people don't necessarily care about that, and to be honest, I don't really either. But when it's a game where you're going through relatively small arenas and you're sort of moving quickly, you know, it's nice to have that option. But here's the thing with this game, and this is why I wanted to show it to you guys, especially in the early access form. I have been enjoying this a lot. I like its fast pace, and I really love the art style and the music in this. I think it's got a really good aesthetic to it. And I really like, even though the story, shoot, I walked into those spikes. Even though the story in this early access release is very basic at the moment and really isn't it really hasn't shown much of itself yet. This idea of this child sort of stuck in a purgatory almost on this subway where he's going through trying to recover his memories is a very cool concept. I'd really like to see where that goes. And the fact that this game seems to draw a lot of influence from other titles like Neon Abyss and Dead Cells, you know, this has probably been in development long enough that I'm guessing it's not ripping those off specifically. Like Neon Abyss hasn't been out that long. The fact that it seems to share a lot in common with those doesn't really bother me at all. It is doing things, it's putting its own spin on that formula. Like I said, this is designed to be much more fast-paced, and like, I love Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a fantastic game, but Dead Cells can get a little overwhelming in everything you have to manage in it. This is a little bit more streamlined, a little bit easier to get into, a little bit more, dare I say, accessible, potentially, to people who are not really hardcore into this genre, like the way I am, potentially. But there are some things I would like to see them improve, like, for example, as I said, I would really like to see bosses randomized as they start adding more of them in. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more variance in the actual design and topology of these arenas as well. They are procedurally generated, but they do feel very samey. To me, and I could be wrong about this, but it just feels to me when I'm playing this like it's picking from a small selection of pre-designed templates rather than, and maybe that's what it's doing. Maybe it's not actually generating the levels randomly. It might just have a selection of templates. There's nothing wrong with that, but it needs to be a bigger set of templates because the levels do feel very familiar a lot of the time. Like I get a lot of that deja vu feeling when I'm playing through these, like, I've done this like a dozen times already. And again, this is early access, so those are things that could definitely improve. You know, as I've said, there's a reason I show very few early access games on here, but when I tend to get a good feeling about games that feel like they're using early access in the way it was intended, and that they're games that are definitely going to get completed one way or the other, but that could actually really benefit from the player feedback that the early access process provides. I'm not batting 1,000 on that instinct necessarily, but in this case, I have a really good feeling about this, and the developer clearly has some talent just taking a look at this, and the publisher already has a number of pretty killer titles to their name, including Scourgebringer, which I just adore. Scourgebringer, now you want a rock-hard roguelite, that is definitely one of them, but I also think it's a fantastic game. So, yeah, I think there is a real good potential here, and if you're into roguelites, and especially if you want something that's a little faster and something that is lo-fi capable, I believe this game definitely is lo-fi capable. Oh, that occasionally miss a shot curse is, oh, I don't like that one. You know, if you want something that's lo-fi capable, it can run on old hardware, this I think would definitely do that. And it is fast-paced, but, you know, it's also compatible with, I don't know, say you've got a, you know, a work laptop and you want to mess around with something on your lunch break, and it's something that's not going to require your entire lunch break. Well, this is it. And there's something very much to be said for games that are designed around that more, you know, quicker paced time set, if you will. And that's actually, again, you know, a roguelite that can be played relatively quickly is not the most common thing or the easiest thing to do. So that's they got something interesting going on here. So I've been enjoying it. I'm going to keep putting time into it as it goes through early access, and hopefully the developers can take a little bit of feedback from this to improve it. But I think they're well on their way to something pretty cool here. So yeah, that is Revita or Revita. Like I said, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but okay, you can return to the station and you keep all the stuff you unlock. So there we go. So yeah, that is Revita, developed by Ben Starr and published by Dear Villagers. It's only on PC at the moment. It is in early access. This is a bit of a weird thing. They have an option in the menu for their roadmap that they don't actually have active yet, which is a little interesting, but they do have their Discord in here, so it's easy to provide feedback to them. Yeah, it's $15 US. If you like this genre, I think this is a pretty safe early access buy, and one that's already got a few hours of fun in it, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see it expand out. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you like what you saw here, you know what to do. Click that subscribe button, hit the bell, like the video, tell other people, because that does help this channel grow and allows me to showcase more interesting indie games for you. And yeah, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you get of the impressions of this. Do you think this is an early access title worth buying? There's 1,000,001 roguelikes out there, and I certainly haven't played them all. So if you know other ones like this that you also think are great, leave them down below so that me and others can discover them. I would love to check those out. So thank you very much for listening, everybody, or for watching, I guess, or listening too. And I will see you all on the next Indie Showcase. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take it easy, everybody.